Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Our look at Series 8 of the Fourth Doctor Adventures continues with The False Guardian, written by Guy Adams, directed by Nicholas Briggs. The False Guardian once again stars Tom Baker as the Doctor, Jane Slavin as Anne Kelso, and John Leeson as K9. Also featured in the cast are John Shrapnel, Anna Acton, Blake Ritson, Roger May, Tracy Wiles, and John Colshaw. As always, I will be talking spoilers, so pursue at your own risk. I will start off with my general broad thoughts, and on this story, I really don't know what to make of it. When I first heard it, I thought this may be the weakest story in this particular set. But then I thought about it, and I couldn't decide if this was the weakest story or if Planet of the Drashigs was the weakest story, and I will get to that when we get to spoilers. I'll talk about my thoughts on that. I think it just has to do with how Series 8 is being released. So, yeah, stay tuned for the spoilers if you're still here. So let's talk about some of the other stuff, like the characters, the cast, and such. And I will, because I made my thoughts on talking about the Doctor clear in Planet of the Drashigs, I will go right to Anne. And in the last two stories, Planet of the Drashigs and The Enchantress of Numbers, I thought Anne was kind of disserviced by those two stories. She was more relegated to generic companion. Like, a lot of the stuff she did was the stuff every companion did. And here in this story, she finally got to do a lot more of what makes her character unique and how she sticks out from the rest of the companions. Like, one of my favorite scenes is as she's snooping around, she comes across a locked door with a keypad. And, being a cop and investigating, she figures out the passcode by the grease residue left behind by fingerprints on the keypad. I can't speak to how accurate that is, but, again, it was a good scene for Anne. It shows how ingenuitive she is, and it shows that she is a creative thinker. K9 in this story was K9. Some people really like him, some people can't stand him. I'm kind of neutral on him, if I'm being honest, but there was one weird scene. There is an instance when K9 is left alone and he is doing his own thing, and K9 talks to himself. Now, I get why that was done, to sort of keep the audience in the loop so you know what's going on, but when you think about it, of all the characters who, in situations where they're alone, might talk to themselves, K9, at least to me, doesn't strike me as one of those characters, so that was a little weird. I also liked a lot of the interactions in this story between Tom and Jane. Generally, I'll say this story is actually surprisingly funny. There was a lot of humorous moments, and one of my favorites happens right at the beginning of the story. The Doctor and Anne are talking about continuing their search for the Sinestrans, and they're talking about the investigation, and I forget what it was, and he's like, I think the Doctor said something akin to, "Oh, I do things like this all the time, just trust me," and Anne responds under her breath with, "This coming from a man who spent most of yesterday looking for the hat he was already wearing," which, been there. But, yeah, the Doctor and Anne's dynamic is continuing to evolve, which I liked. I also like that this story is now picking up the Doctor and Anne's search for the Sinestrans from the first story, the Sinestran kill, and what they are doing. And then some of the characters. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do the spoiler stuff first or if I want to get to the rest of the characters first. I'll do one of the characters at least, and then I'll get to the spoiler stuff. So Tracy Wiles plays all the service drones in this place they're going to, and I can't really talk about where they are yet, the Doctor and Anne, because again, that ties into the plot, and this is a plot I cannot talk about without getting into the spoilers. But yeah, one of the things I'm finding about robots in these stories, and because I was also listening to Door Series 5, and in one of those stories, robots play a big role, is that even when they're monotone, there's still a way to inject a lot of personality into them. Like John Leeson does it all the time with K9, and Tracy Wilds playing these drones, she, even though again, they're robots, they're monotonous, there was a way that a lot of personality was injected into these characters. And now, the plot. So, the Doctor and Anne continue their hunt for the Sinestrans, and their TARDIS, and the TARDIS is sort of derailed in where they're going. They find a place that looks familiar. They arrive at a place that looks very familiar to the Doctor, and then we learn that they are on the planet Kemble. This story is a direct sequel, air quotes because it's a time travel show, to the Daleks' master plan. And now a tangent for those new of you to Doctor Who. The Daleks' master plan was a first Doctor story. Depending on how you count Trial of a Time Lord, if you count it as one story, or if you go by the scripts and count it as the 4 separate stories, the Daleks' master plan is the longest story in Doctor Who history at 12 episodes. With the exception of 3 episodes, most of those episodes are lost, missing or lost. So, yeah, and at the time of filming this, it is January 29th. I have not seen the Daleks' master plan. I forget who it was that recommended it to me. Looked up Loose Cannon Productions. They are a production company that took the first Doctor Lost stories and took the audio, because the audio still exists, and screenshots from the episodes, and as much as possible reconstructed them. As of right now, I am watching the Daleks master plan. I am on episode 3. And yeah, so long story short, this story is a sequel to the Daleks' master plan. Although saying it, they give you enough information. You don't have to have seen the Daleks' master plan to understand what's going on. Although they don't give you everything, the story gives you enough information that you can listen to this on your own, not having seen the Daleks' master plan, and really understand where we're picking up. So yeah, there's that. And then, since the Doctor's last journey to Kemble, since stopping the Daleks' master plan, a health spa, there's very obviously something going on, has opened up. A very private, secretive health spa. And one of the patients, a man named Nigel Calhoun, played by John Shrapnel, claims to be Mavic Chen. Now, after the Daleks, as far as I can tell, because again, only on episode 3, Mavic Chen was one of the main antagonists of the Daleks' master plan, and by the end of the story, he had died. So obviously this man claiming to be Mavic Chen really sets off the Doctor. Trying to figure out what I want to say. And then, throughout the rest of the episode, the Doctor really plays on this man's sort of mental state and tries to figure out what's going on. And I like the dynamic between the Doctor and Mavic Chen. Again, his name is Nigel Calhoun. And it just, again, this story was surprisingly funny, and their interactions were really good. And then we meet the 2 people running the retreat, and it's obvious they have something going on. We don't get too much of it, and I also liked their dynamic as well. I think they were trying to go for a sort of husband and wife thing with them. I don't know if the characters are married or not, but, their dynamic came off as kind of twisted and yet weirdly sweet. Like, the assistant director, often talks to the weird scientist because she's very prone to panic attacks. She's kind of freaking out because these two people have intruded, and the assistant director is very, like, it sounds really creepy how he makes his performance really creepy, but it's weirdly sweet. Like, he constantly reassures her, he tells her not to worry, and yeah, again, just really sweet. Now, we get to the big issue. At the end of this story, we meet the director of this facility, who is Zephon, or rather, his son. In the Daleks' master plan, a bunch of delegates from different parts of the universe were teaming up with the Daleks to help them try and take over the universe in exchange for power. Early on, the Doctor and his friends managed to subdue one of these conspirators, an alien named Zephon, and the Doctor was able to disguise himself as Zephon and infiltrate the meeting to find out what's going on. Like Mavic Chen, Zephon was killed by the end of the story, so the director of this retreat is his son. Anyway, at the end of the story, the director arrives, the son of Zephon, and he recognizes the Doctor, and the story ends. And that is where I'm having so much trouble in reviewing this story, because this is half a story. This won't... And part 2 will continue in Series 8B. And it's just, there are a lot of things I have issues with in this story. For example, a man tries to send a distress call before he pricks himself on a Varga plant, a Dalek creation. It's a plant that sort of, it's basically a zombie plant. The best analogy I can come up with. You get pricked by the thorns and you turn into a Varga plant. And then we don't see him anymore after the Doctor and Anne infiltrate this facility. And then later, one of the assistant director's experiments, because he's also a mad scientist, one of his experiments breaks out, and I couldn't tell if this was the same guy, only further along in the mutation, or if this was something new. And it's just, a lot of the things I have issues with, I feel like I can't comment on, because I feel like when Series 8B comes out, the next story will resolve them. So yeah, The False Guardian is a surprisingly funny story. I liked a lot of the humor in it, but again, it's just, if you got Series 8A, I'd recommend holding off on this story until February, which may be when this review comes up. But yeah, hold off until February when Series 8B comes out so you can get both parts and have the full story. I'm going to give The False Guardian you know what? I'm not going to rank The False Guardian. I'm going to wait till Series 8B comes out. I'm going to listen to it again. And when the next story comes out, I believe it is called Time's Assassin. I'll double check later. I will rank that story with The False Guardian as a whole story. So join me next time when the Doctor and Anne's whenever that is. Wow. So join me next time, whenever that is, when the Doctor and Anne's adventures continue in Series 8B. What did you think? Did you like what you saw? Start a conversation in the comments. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and then click that little bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload, because subscribe decided it didn't want to do the definition of subscribe. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.